Mike. I'm doing great. Thank you.
We were just wondering if we could talk to you a little bit about the statement President Obama made today. And
okay, sure.
I guess the first thing is that something that a lot of people would understand, if you could help us out with this, is we hear the term executive order thrown around a lot. And looking back, there's been a lot of executive orders throughout our country's history. I mean, I think FDR put out the most. Of course, he had 4 terms. How does an executive order work in law and things like that when it comes to the country and the Constitution? And then we can kind of move that to the gun rights thing.
Well, anything he tried to do in executive order that was inconsistent with the constitutionally enumerated power would obviously be challenged or would be struck down. And similarly, if he were to issue an executive order that was inconsistent with a statute that has already been enacted into law, that would be challenged and be struck down. So he can't do that. Typically, what he would try to do with an executive order is to visit an area that's not been addressed yet by statute or constitutional right specifically. But from what I understand here, he's not trying to use the executive order to roll back gun rights. He's asking for congressional action, which he's not going to get. But the only thing, to my knowledge, that he's going to try to do by executive order is try to eliminate some language that says that the CDC and the one other group, I can't remember what it is, can't do any research. The current law says that they can't do any research or studies that would promote gun restriction laws or gun restriction groups. And he is trying to strike that language out by executive order. If he does, I can assure you, I can't assure, but I'm highly confident we will be able to pass a statute within this Congress that would supersede that and put that language back in. But the things he's wanting to do on assault ban, also on assault weapon ban, and on ammunition clips, he's asking for congressional action. He's not trying to do that by executive order, at least at this point.
Can you give us kind of an overview from your standpoint as a congressman where this is at and where this is kind of going? Because there are a lot of people out there who are worried, they're frustrated, they've been frustrated for quite some time, and they would just kind of like to get, I guess, a view of how you see it from where you're sitting up there in the midst of it. Yeah.
Well, the thing that I can tell your listeners with a high degree of confidence is there is zero possibility that any statute or proposal that he makes to roll back any Second Amendment rights are going to get through the Congress, particularly the House of Representatives. But I don't think they can get through the Senate either. So this talk about assault weapon or semi-automatic weapon bans or the limits on the number of bullets can be in a clip, etc., none of that stuff's going anywhere. This is all politics and theater. Right now, the president very much wants to damage the Republican image with the American people and make us the party of no on everything, and that's why he's picking fights like this. And plus, he's playing to his base. His liberal base would love the idea of everybody having their guns taken away of any kind. So by standing up and with bluster and saying he's going to try to do this, he's kind of playing to his base, but there is no chance it's going to become law.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, sir. Well, that's kind of what we were kind of looking at and trying to get a statement and figure out. I mean, I know everybody's watching this, and a lot of people who are gun owners, who are responsible gun owners, are really worried that they're being demonized right now and are just kind of.
Well, they are.
You know, that's got a lot of people very frustrated with that. Teach their children, you know, how to handle a weapon responsibly. Who are always there when they use a weapon, or keep them locked up so they can't get to them in the meantime. And then you have a lot of these cases that involve mentally. I guess disabled folks or people who are just hit some hard time who are going through committing these crimes, and yet you've got a ton of people who are not doing this, and it frustrates a ton of people.
Yeah, well, you know, the fact is he's using this circumstance for political purposes, like I said, but
sure.
The folks need to remember that the Second Amendment was not put in the Constitution by our founding fathers to protect hunters or for home protection.
Right.
It was to make sure that we could protect our right from our own government if we had to, or form a militia to protect ourselves from an invading government. So this was all about what our forefathers were thinking right after they had to fight Britain for independence. It was not about gun rights. That's what the liberals are trying to say. Well, you don't need a semi-automatic weapon to go deer hunt. That's not why we say we did the Second Amendment.
Right.
The fact is that was not why it was put in the Constitution, but they want to make it sound like that's what we're talking about hunting, because then you can say, well, you don't need a 10 bullet clip or a 30 bullet clip, and you don't need an automatic weapon. But that's not why it's in there. It's to make sure that we're able to defend ourselves and our rights one day if we had to. And fact is, assault weapons, automatic and semi-automatic weapons, as far as I'm concerned, are completely appropriate for anybody to have. And that's part of it. They're trying to frame the debate that way. And then to your second point about people who are mentally unstable or just mean, killing people, the fact is you could take every gun in this country away from everybody, and they take a car and run over people, or they take a bomb and go and blow up a school, or they take a knife and kill somebody, or a baseball bat. The fact is, guns don't kill people. People kill people. Right.
That's true. That's true. And I'm glad you brought up the Second Amendment, because I read it and reread it and reread it and reread it, and it says nothing, it talks about, as you said, to defend against a government that turns tyrannical on us, namely ours, if it were to do that. Or
let's do it.
Yeah, well, yeah, there are a lot of people. When you see some senators and representatives say things like, "Well, we had to pass it to find out what was in it," that is like the height of irresponsibility of someone's position who is there, and that blows my mind. I mean, I just can't even think about it. But you're right on the Second Amendment. To protect from a tyrannical government, but also, we have an invading force. You've got armed citizens that could turn it back. And the last time I checked, militia isn't a code word for hunting club. So,
well, exactly. And another thing I remember is we have terrorist groups that are in cells all over our country right now that are armed, waiting to be given the word by their folks over in the Middle East to start killing some of us.
Wow.
Those are the kind of reasons why we're supposed to be able to have arms, and we're not just talking about hunting shotguns.
Right.
Hunting rifles. Again, and when you go back to when the Second Amendment was put in as an amendment to the Constitution, look at the people that put it in, and what were they talking about and thinking about at the time? Nobody was saying that you were going to have that right so you could hunt. Everybody had to hunt back then. It was just part of the way you fed your family. It was about making sure that no government could come in and start taking. In fact, if you look at the priority of the amendments, the First Amendment, which is our freedom of speech and assembly, they put that first because if you ever have a monarch or somebody, an oppressive, tyrannical government that wants to oppress people, the first thing they do is start taking over the media, the newspapers, the radio, the TV stations, so that people can't dissent. They'll arrest people for dissent. They won't let people assemble in protest. Then the next thing they want is to start taking their guns away to make sure they can't fight back. So there's a reason why our forefathers put the First Amendment first and the Second Amendment right after it.
Right.
Was to make sure we could always protect ourselves against a government, whether it was foreign or our own.
All right. Well, Congressman Mike Rogers, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Thanks for kind of filling us in on that. That's I know it's on everyone's mind, and I'm sure it's going to be in the forefront of news everywhere else, too, for some time. So thanks a lot for chatting with us this afternoon.